Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are. Welcome to the Vegan World 2026 Moonshot podcast. And today we are joined by Jian Yi of China Vegans. He is the founder of China Vegans, and he's been doing some incredible work in China on promoting the vegan movement. He's also the director of a documentary called Zodiac 12. So we're going to talk about these two things. Let me invite him to join us. Welcome, Yi.
All right.
So I guess explain to us that the first name is actually the last name and the last name is the first name. Is that how you do it in China?
Yeah, that's very confusing. Yeah, our first name is our family name, and our last
Okay.
name is our given name.
Okay.
Jian
So
is my family name, actually.
Jian is your family name and Yi is your given name. I see. Okay.
Exactly. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, I confuse that with my Chinese friends too. So I just wanted to get that out first.
Right.
When did you start China Vegans? First of all, let's tell us how did you go vegan?
How many minutes do you have? I can talk about this for hours.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, long story short, I became vegan during my when my wife was pregnant with our first child, and all these things about the mother cow suddenly started to make sense to me. So I was a vegetarian before that for a few years, but I never these things about mother cow never registered. But until my wife was pregnant with our own child, and all these things make sense to me, and I became vegan afterwards.
So how long ago was that?
That was 2014. Our first child was born in 2014.
Okay, yeah, amazing. So when did you start China Vegans? Is it soon after that?
Actually, not. I actually started another organization first. The organization is called the Good Food Fund, which has become a leading voice in China's food systems transformation.
Hmm.
I didn't start the China Vegans right away because I feel we need to contextualize the issue a little bit more,
Hmm.
because people already had that kind of wrong idea that vegans are very radical or they're all Buddhists. So,
Right.
I feel like we need to contextualize the issue more before we focus on the vegan community. So, not until last year did I start to work on the China Vegan Society.
I see. Okay. So the Good Food Fund, is that the other one that you're
Yeah, the
talking?
Good Food Fund was launched in 2017. And the
Hmm.
China Vegan Society was launched last year in 2021.
Oh, I see. Wonderful. So when did you start the Zodiac 12 documentary?
Yeah, I always wanted to make a documentary about how we relate to non-human animals, but there are already so many amazing films out there, right? The Earthlings, the Conspiracy, and all these amazing films already out there. But I was thinking, how can I make a film that can appeal to all audience, but then has a special appeal to people in China because
Hmm.
we haven't, so far we haven't had a real opportunities to talk about how we relate to non-human animals in China. So, and then it dawned on me one day that, why don't we use the 12 zodiac animals to talk about how we relate to non-human animals. And then I did a research. I asked around, whether this would be good entry point for us to talk about animals, and most people that I talked to said yes. This is amazing way to talk about animals, and
Hmm.
so I did. And I luckily I also had mentorship from Peter Singer, who agreed to be an advisor to this film. So that
Hmm.
gave me a lot of confidence that I will make a you know, I'll do a good job with his advice.
Well, you are a filmmaker by profession, right? Or have you done films before?
Yeah, yeah. I started to work on films since 2003.
Hmm.
More. more as an independent filmmakers after 2006. So yeah, so I was in the film world. So I was, I made a feature film. I made a number of documentaries. I was in all kinds of film festivals and museums as a filmmaker. Um, yeah, so before I became like a food person or animal rights person, I was in that world.
I see. Wonderful. So perfect. It's a perfect confluence of events that seem to have happened in your life. So you're the perfect vehicle for this message.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. I'm very grateful though. I'm very grateful that, through the medium of film that actually I was exposed to sufferings of animals and to all these issues about that we are facing today with our food
mm,
system. I'm very grateful for
yeah.
this. Yeah.
Thank you. So tell me, you said that when you were growing up, you had a special affinity for the rabbit. So tell us
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. I actually I forgot, I forgot a lot of things of my childhood now that I'm, in my mid
Mm,
40s. But I can see that from my child. I have a 7-year old, and from his day one, I've been with him, and I saw how he relate to animals, and I can see that, by nature humans are very affiliated to all kinds of animals, and I cannot forget the moment my son, when he first saw a dog, and he was so amazed by the dog that he saw. And so we actually, as humans, I guess, we when we were born into this world, we have these natural connections with other animals. But we gradually lost that, on our way when we grew up, because of all kinds of incidents that happened in our life. That, for example, we saw how animals slaughtered, we saw how animal became meat on our plate, and so we started to lose that connection with animals because we feel like, we have power over them. Right? They can become our food. We can abuse them whenever we like, as we wish, and so we gradually lose our respect, lose our connections for animals. And but so did I. I lost a lot of connections with animals when I grew up. I didn't like dogs anymore. I didn't like cats anymore. I didn't like, I feel like I was quite distant with any other with all other animals except for rabbits, because I was born in the year of rabbits, and I was born in mid 1970s, and China was very poor back then, so I didn't have many toys. And the few toys that I had were all rabbits. So I feel like I was so connected with rabbits that I didn't want to hurt it. So although I ate meat when I grew up, I never ate. I refused to eat any rabbit meat, or I refused to do any harm to rabbits.
So you didn't want to do any harm to rabbits because you were born in the year of the rabbit.
I feel very close to a rabbit. Yeah, I
You
feel
very
like as if I were a rabbit in my
as if
previous.
you were a rabbit. Yeah, amazing, amazing. That's an amazing observation. And do you think every Chinese person has that kind of affiliation, or most of them do?
Yeah, I wouldn't say every. I mean, I would say every human being might have that connection at some point in their life.
Mhm.
But just the connection tends to be so weak, and the other forces tend to be so strong. The forces of abusing animals, using animals for our own purposes, for our own benefits, were so strong that we just don't sense it. So I honestly believe every human being has that connection at some point of their life. But do they do that? Is that has that connection ever surfaced to the conscious level for every human being? I don't think so. So that's why I feel so grateful that, through the medium of film, I was helped by my own experiences of going to slaughterhouses, going to factory farms, that those kind of experiences like really helped me, my that connection to really surface to my conscious level, and to really make conscious decisions of how I want to relate to other animals, and I want to use my power, as a human being, that you possess that power over other non-human animals. How you want to use it in a compassionate way.
Right, right. So, in the Zodiac 12 documentary, you're starting with, you have 12 chapters. Is that right? Is that how it works? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, for each chapter, like say the chapter of the mouse, what are
Mhm.
you dealing with in the mouse chapter?
Yeah, good question. So I was thinking, how we can choose an entry point, so we can talk about animals in the Chinese context, without really arousing a lot of conflicts and hard feelings. So I ended up choosing the Zodiac 12 because it has such a big impact in Chinese lives. I talk about my experience with rabbits, but for many other people, they will look at the zodiac signs when they are dating other, when they go for their date, when
Mm,
they marry somebody, even when they choose which year they will bear their children. So
mm,
so it has a big impact. And then after I made that decision, I started to do research about what we can I can do with stray animals. And one of the things that I discovered, which really to my surprise and really excitement, is that these 12 animals just happen to represent uh, all the major ways humans are using or abusing animals.
mm.
So for rats, for example, that you asked, um, I'm going to talk about animals that we use in the zoo. Sorry, in the context of laboratories.
Right.
So rats or mice, actually they are the same words in Chinese. Rats or mice, they are used extensively in human laboratories for like biological or medical testing. So that's what I'm gonna talk about, how how these animals are actually used and abused in for scientific, so-called scientific purposes.
Right. So, what is the next animal in the sequence? Is it the cow?
Yeah. So after the rabbits or the mice, there's a cow. And again, in the Chinese word, in Chinese, we know the cow. The word "new" can refer to cow or ox
Mm.
um, or
Buffalo.
bull or any other, yeah, or
Yeah.
any other, or buffalo even,
Mm.
any that kind of category of animals. So I'm going to talk about farm animals, especially farm animals exploited for their milk. So cow.
I
In
see.
some other cases, buffalo as well, I guess. And then after the cow, there is the tiger, which is
Mm.
this year, right? It is the year of the tiger. So I'm going to talk about animals used in the zoo, for entertainment.
Mhm.
And and I will also talk about, so I'm still in the research stage. So I'm so I might talk about, for tiger, I might talk about animals used in the zoo, or used in entertainment, or animals in the wild,
Mhm.
wildlife. And then after, yeah,
Sorry, I mean, but is there a positive connotation to the tiger and to the cow and the mouse? Is there like is the tiger like representative of courage?
yeah. I mean, for every zodiac sign, there's no like absolute good or bad attached to it, because then if you're born in that year, if it's only good and no bad, or if you're born in a year is only negative or not positive,
Right,
then that's gonna be miserable, right?
right.
So there's always negative and positive connotations to each of the animals. For example, cows. Cows considered to be like really very close to human beings. They're very honest. They're very hardworking, and
Mm.
and
Dependable.
dependable. And
Yeah,
the negative thing could be their life can be miserable because they are used as cows, right? They're
right.
they're almost like slaves. In human history, if you look at it, even if for example, in China, people for centuries people didn't eat beef because they consider cows as a part of family, because they work with the farming
Yeah.
communities, things like that. But still, they had to work so hard. Sometimes they work to their bones. So the negative connotation for somebody who's born in the year of the cow is that probably they have to work very hard to earn a
Mm,
living in their life, something like that.
right.
Yeah.
So for the mouse, what is the positive connotation for the mouse?
For the mouse, the positive connotation is that they are very clever
Mm,
and they are very um, uh, what is the English word for it? They are very like flexible. They are very
creative.
they're very resourceful, right? They can find many ways to survive. They can they can survive all
Right.
kinds of harsh environment. So yeah, that's enduring and characteristic and resilient
Hmm.
characteristic. So there are all kinds of ways to interpret the characteristics of these animals.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
So the tiger would be, yeah. So, I mean, are you going to bring this out as well in the documentary? Because I think it'll be good to show not just the abuse, but also something positive that
Right.
goes with it. Yeah,
Of course, of course. Like tiger, it's easy to think of the positive characteristic of tiger, right?
right,
They are like a king. They have the kind of charisma. They have the kind of
right.
strength and the kind of dominance over the jungle. Um, yeah, and
So
then
after the tiger comes the rabbit.
yeah, comes a rabbit, and then after the rabbit comes the snake. No,
Is
comes a
the
dragon. Comes a dragon.
dragon. But is the rabbit represent? What does the rabbit represent in the Zodiac 12 document? What are you going to look at, focus on in terms of the animal use?
Yeah, for rabbit, I'm still, depending on what my research will take me, there's several ways to talk about rabbits. One way to talk about it is also used extensively in laboratories. But not because since we'll be talking about laboratories anyway in the rest chapter,
Hmm.
so I probably will talk about rabbit in the context of animals used for their fur.
Fur, yeah,
Yeah,
right, right.
so so that's rabbit. And after
Then
rabbit, there's the dragon,
dragon.
which question, people always ask me about dragon. So how are you going to talk about dragon? Imaginary animal. Uh, so the Chinese dragon is very different than the dragons in the Western fables. In
Hmm.
the Chinese fables, dragons actually dwell in the sea, in the water.
Ah,
And what I understand is in the Western web fable, the dragons are associated with fire, like
right,
fire spirits, right? So yeah, so since I'm talking about this in the Chinese context, then I'm gonna use the context of the water of the sea. So
hmm,
through dragon, I'm gonna talk about lives living in the sea.
right.
Yeah,
And our
so basically
abuse,
how we relate to fish and mammals living in the sea.
right,
And that's a huge problem, as we know. Like our seas deep,
absolutely,
right? Because of overfishing, because of the way we abuse our power over the lives living in the sea.
I mean, to me, it is, all abuse and of animals. It's like it signifies a relationship, how we relate to nature. And so
Exactly.
long as we relate to nature in this exploitative sense, we are going to die.
Yeah.
It's simple as that. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. Unless we start relating to nature as if we're going to contribute more than we take. That nature is uh, we are part of nature, and that we are going to um,
I agree. I agree. In many of our traditional cultures in
right,
China, India, or we did have our ancestors did have that humbleness in front of nature because we feel there were things that we don't know. They were uh, we're just part of nature, and we don't want to we don't want to destroy uh,
right,
our own inhabitants. But
right,
I guess humanity has become so arrogant since the Industrial Revolution that we suddenly feel like we had everything in the world that we can at our own disposal, right? We feel like we could dominate everything in the world, and
right,
suddenly we feel like we're out of context. We feel like we are not no longer part of the nature. We are dominating the nature, especially after we have uh, the power of post-industrial age, where we feel we can we have a we suddenly feel like we can abuse anything we want.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that companies is not there.
Yeah. Speaking of the dragon, actually, there is, Raytheon, the defense company. I mean, they make the fishing equipment, and so they apparently have a saying that the fish can run, but they cannot hide, because
Mm,
they have all these cameras to detect the last remaining fish and to go catch them wherever they are.
that's a very good way to put it. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's, to me, sort of symbolic of the relationship now we have with nature. And as you pointed out, we traditionally always had this humility towards
mm,
nature, in our indigenous cultures in India and China, or in Africa, South Latin America, everywhere, right? I think it is the domination mindset is really a colonization of our culture. So getting back to our indigenous roots is about is getting to a different relationship with nature. You know,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
and so this is, I mean, what you're doing is so critical for
Yeah.
getting into the Chinese mindset. So the next after dragon. So what is the positive connotation of the dragon?
The dragon is one of the most popular. Although I said earlier that all these animals are good or bad in different ways, because we don't want people to feel miserable if they were born in certain
Right.
year. But they are that being said, there are some animals are more popular than others. So
Mhm.
dragon is probably the most popular animals among all, because dragon is always associated with the emperor, with like the
The
high
emperor.
authority, with something that's really auspicious. So yeah, so dragon basically has that connotation of being the most,
Leadership.
yeah, the leader, the most auspicious, and the most the most wanted, kind of.
The
So
most wanted.
so there are a lot of babies were born in the year of the dragon.
So if you look at the demographic of China, so obviously it is not even. You're saying it's not. There's more people who are born in the year of the dragon than in other years.
Exactly. I've heard conversation like that. A couple were discussing, oh, when should we should have our child? Okay, next year is the year of dragon. Let's have. Okay, the next year is the year of the goat. Let's wait for another year. That happens. Yeah, that still do happen. Yeah, couples.
Fascinating. So what comes after the dragon?
After dragon is the small dragon, is the snake. So
Mm.
snake is actually referred to as the small dragon because they look similar. They're smaller. Uh, yeah, so that's the snake. Um, and then after the snake,
So
there's the
snake
goat.
would be what in the documentary? Are you focusing on
The
which animal?
snake, I will talk about animals used for Chinese medicine.
Chinese medicine, I see.
Yeah, yeah. So in traditionally, animals were used for Chinese medicine. But today we actually don't need that, right? In most cases we don't need, or in all cases we don't need that. We have so many things that we can use to substitute.
Right.
So, and we
Yes.
do have people in the Chinese medical world who are advocating against using animals for Chinese medicine.
Wonderful.
So we're
Yeah.
tapping into their expertise.
And what is the positive connotation of the snake? Is it
Yeah, generally, most people don't like snakes, right? It's hard to find a person who loves snakes. I believe there are people who love snakes, but I would argue very few. Um, so I guess our ancestors came up with a way to convince people that you can like snakes if you regard them as a smaller version of the dragon. so so yeah, so snakes I actually I didn't really dig into the cultural connotation of snakes,
mm,
but they are similar to dragon. Like they can be auspicious, they can be very resourceful,
mm,
and yeah, I think it's very powerful too in their own way.
right, right. So, what comes after the snake? The zodiac.
There's the goats. The goats. But again, in the Chinese language, you can be, you can translate it as goats or sheep,
Hmm.
or what's the other word for similar?
Yeah, well, the
Yeah,
male of a goat is a ram, so
a
yeah,
ram. Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
ram, sheep, ram, yeah.
Right, right.
So,
In that kind.
what are you going to focus on in the documentary for the?
I will focus on animals used for fur. So again, so for rabbit, because I'm gonna talk, fur and laboratory. So I'll divide a little bit because they are used in different ways.
Mhm.
So definitely for sheep, I will talk about animal use for fur.
Oh, you mean
The
wool, right? A
wool,
wool,
yeah,
wool, yeah.
yeah,
It's really
and
for clothing at that point. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Although we think animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, as they say.
That's very Orwellian.
Yeah. And to be honest, as a vegan, sometimes I have to be honest. Some animals is hard to like them, like cockroaches. I find it really hard to like cockroaches. Although I don't kill them, I never, I don't kill them. I never really harm them, but it's really hard to like them. So for goats and sheep, it's one of the least popular year for people to bear their children, because somehow they feel, as a sheep or a goat, you will have a really hard life. Your life will be harder than if you were
Mm.
born in other animal years. So, but that's actually not true. I mean, one of our most powerful emperors, she was born in, our most powerful empress in the Qin dynasty. She was actually born in the year of the goat.
I see.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah,
So I think, is it possible that people were trying to conceive him in the year of the dragon and he just slipped, went into the goat?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can always find counter arguments for that kind of thing. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So
So
what comes after the snake? After the sheep, the
after the
monkey.
sheep or goat, then there's the monkey.
Hmm.
Uh, oh, by the way, so actually, both my mother and my sister, I only have one sibling, my younger sister. They were born in the year of the goat. So
Hmm.
I'm totally fine. And also, actually, as it goes, the year, people who are born in the year of the rabbits, they go very well with people who are born, the goats. So
I see.
they like, inherently, uh, will become good friends. So, and then after the year of the goats is the year of the monkey.
Hmm.
Yeah. So then I will talk about, of course, monkey is an ape. So, is a member of the what's the word? Not ape. Primate family. So
Right.
I'm gonna talk about, primates. How primates live in our world. They were used for laboratories, or for lab tests.
Hmm.
They were used for entertainment,
Hmm.
um, and in some places they are even used for food. So, but mostly the first two categories,
Right.
primates used for laboratories and for entertainment.
So then, I mean, what is the positive connotation of the monkey?
Of course, they are very smart, right? Like,
Mm.
they're very intelligent, and they're very agile. They're very agile, and also they are often referred to as the golden monkey,
Mm.
because they are. And also, I should mention that in China, there's this very, very popular novel, which is like a few hundred years old. It's called The Journey to the West. So it's about this Buddhist monk, who made this pilgrim to India,
Yeah.
to get the Buddhist classics. And so he was protected by this golden monkey, this monkey king. So if I were to argue that the Monkey King is probably most important cultural icon of the Chinese
Mhm.
tradition. So so the Monkey King has been, like, every child in China likes the Monkey King because he's so powerful, he's so agile, he's so intelligent, and he's so lovable. basically.
Right, right. So after the monkey,
And then after the monkey, there's the dog.
the dog,
We'll talk about companion animals. Uh,
companion animals. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Of course, there is huge issue of dogs in China being eaten, being slaughtered and for their meat, and which is actually illegal because the Ministry of Agriculture never approved uh, farming of dogs. So
Mm.
all these dogs that are being slaughtered and sold in the market and be eaten, they are illegally. Most of them, say 99% of them, are illegally uh, stolen from households.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually not illegal. It's actually not legal too. It's
Right.
actually it's actually not illegal to eat dogs, but the reality is that actually most of the dogs that are eaten are illegally obtained.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Man, that makes it so heartbreaking, right? So these animals were taken care of in households, they got stolen.
Yeah, if you look them in their eyes, right, it's hard. It's very easy. Like dogs are entirely different than cockroaches, right? It's very easy
Look
to
into their eyes. Yeah.
find a connection with a dog than with a cockroach. And they're actually and they're minority cultures in China where like the Manchus, they tradition and the Koreans, the ethnic Koreans in China,
Hmm.
they traditionally they didn't eat dogs because dogs were part of their family, like cows. Like
Hmm.
ethnic Chinese, traditionally we didn't eat beef because cows were
Right.
considered part of the family.
That's fascinating because that's the way it was in India as well. Cows are part of the family. This is why they were revered.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
after the dog, there's the chicken.
chicken is the last one. Okay.
Yeah, it's obvious, right? I cannot talk about farm animals, especially the birds that are in the egg industry.
The egg industry.
Because I'm gonna talk about pig, and so I will have other opportunities to talk about farm animals. So for chicken, I will focus on animals used for their eggs.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's really the abuse of the feminine.
it's huge. If you look at the sheer number of chicken, right, in the egg industry, is astronomical, and the suffering they're enduring is unfathomable. Yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah.
So then after the chicken is the pig.
The last one, yeah, the pig, and obviously, pork is the number one consumed meat in China, and we
Hmm.
have, China raises half of the pigs in the world for food, and so that's huge. So for pig, I'm going to talk about farm animals for used for meat.
Hmm. Yeah. So what are the positive connotations of a pig?
Actually, my wife was born in the year of the pig, and actually, pig is considered as one of the most auspicious animals in all the 12. Um, so actually, a lot of people choose to bear their children in the year of the pig because they think uh, pigs are lucky. I still haven't dig into that why pigs are lucky. uh, so if you're born in the year of the pig, you tend to have good fortune. You will probably get rich. You
Hmm.
will get lucky in throughout your life, and also pigs are very compatible to other animals. So that's a good sign, right? But then you have more choices when it comes to date other people.
Is that right? Okay.
So for example, for me, actually, my wife and I, when she was my girlfriend, when we started dating, we already started looking at our zodiac signs. Of course, we were not, we're not stopped dating each other if our signs were not compatible. But it's fun to look at your zodiac
Yeah.
sign. So we look at our zodiac signs, and rabbits and pigs, they actually go very well together.
I
So
see.
so that was
Fascinating.
another good sign. Apart from that, we were already very good together.
Right. So how far along are you on this fascinating documentary?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings to report when I report this to you. I actually started this project 3 years ago. Uh,
Mm,
Started to conceptualize, to contextualize, started to talk to people, and also started to seek advice from people like Peter Singer, who has been super supportive. And I raised a little bit of funding for my research stage, and I have made so since I think the year of the goat, yes,
mhm,
and monkey. I've started to make some like really short videos
mhm,
before the Chinese New Year, before the turn of the year, and I've been sharing those videos to raise awareness about the topic. But I haven't. I'm still waiting to really uh, officially start the research and the pre-production stage, which I hope I will start after May this year. I will probably be able to spend a year working on the research and the pre-production, and after that, hopefully after the summer 2023, I will start shooting. But then I also need to do, apart from doing the research, I also need to do fundraising because it will be a major undertaking. Yeah, I will have to travel around the world to find stories and to really. I don't want to just to make a film about the sufferings of animals, which you already have amazing films like Earthlings and Dominance. So I don't think we need to another film just to show the sufferings of animals because those two films have already done incredible work. So I need to find really good narratives to bring in the stories and to make a very strong case for these animals. I can
right.
give you examples if we have time, you know, but in brief, in a nutshell, that's what I'm gonna do in the next year or two.
Yeah, this is why I was sort of asking about the positive connotations because I think if you mix that in, talk about obviously the suffering of the animals, but mix the positive connotations, and people will feel like they need to step up, and
Yeah,
also the cultural connotations of going back to our roots, because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely. There will be, although I will have 12 chapters talking about these
mm,
animals, but there will be an overarching theme
mm,
that will touch on uh, basically a number of things. One is uh, what has happened to our values
mm,
and that we're relating to animals in this way today. Uh, what had happened that we have lost this humility when we relate to other animals.
right,
Um, and the second thing is the more positive note is that what are the potentials that we can, change how we relate to our animals? And there are so many positive examples around the world today, right? There's so many things we can look into our culture, more traditional cultures, or the cultures of indigenous people who are still who probably haven't lost their community uh, uh, towards the nature. What kind of how we can get inspired by those.
right.
And I'm sure that there are plenty of those examples that we can find.
Yeah, I mean, I think also, China has given so many amazing gifts to the world, like Tao Te Ching, and it's sort of a different way of looking at things uh, that has helped all of us
Exactly.
to understand
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I feel it's very important for a Chinese filmmaker to make this film.
Mm.
So we don't want people in China to feel like, again, Westerners are turning, are pointing their fingers to the Chinese, saying, why don't you stop this? Why don't you stop that?
Right.
I don't think any people in the world likes to be pointed, to be singled out and be criticized in that way. I mean, if you look at around the world, Chinese are not the only people who are bringing sufferings to animals, right? All of us,
All of
all,
us. Uh-huh.
and a lot of it is actually started in the in the West when the Industrial Revolution started. So So it's important for for Chinese filmmakers to tell these stories, and it's important that we look at what kind of resources we actually can tap into in the Chinese culture, in the Chinese value. And and one thing I really need to say the importance to talk about the importance of this film is that for every single subject that is out there for public recognition and public debate, you can always find at least one book or one film that helps define the field, right? When you think about animal rights, there
Mm,
is Animal Liberation, written by Peter Singer, right? When you talk about uh, our diet, there's this diet for a diet for a small world, a small
right,
planet, and there's sort of silent spring, which helps define environmental conservation.
right,
So but in China today, we don't have any single book or any single film that talks about our relations with animals. So if we don't even have a book or a film that helps us define that subject, how can you bring that even to a public discourse?
right.
So I hope this film will, or a book. I'm actually also looking into maybe potentially a book out of this my research because you can put so much more into a book than a film. But they're complementary. Film is very powerful in other ways,
Right.
but a book can just have more information as well. So,
Right. Yeah. We always had a companion, conspiracy has a companion book. What
and
the
even
hell is a
even
companion
a
book?
website, website that I believe I'll have so many more footage that I can put into that film, the final cut. I can always cut more shorter videos to share on my website, and I hope the website can also be a hub for other people to contribute their media uh,
Hmm.
for the same subject.
It's amazing. It's a
Thank
wonderful project. I'm so glad that you're undertaking this. Where are you now?
you. Oh, you mean where?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually here based in Boston at the moment, in
Mm.
Massachusetts, US. I came here last August, and that's why I feel I actually in a but better position to do the research, to start the research if I can
Mm.
stay here for longer until next year, because here you have just much more academic resources on this subject, and 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 it's much easier to travel here. In China, you can't travel, because of COVID restrictions.
I
So,
see. Okay.
so here I can travel to Europe if you want. I can travel to Africa or India, but in China, I just can't do that. In the foreseeable future.
Hmm. But I presume that the documentary will be in Chinese, right? It'll be in,
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. Yeah, it'll be in Chinese. I
Mandarin.
mean, we will have, in Mandarin. We will have other languages subtitles, subtitles in other languages, at least in English. Yeah.
Wonderful. Any last words for people who have been watching?
Yeah, I'm totally, one thing I want to say is that, I appreciate your really kind words about our work. China is very, very important, as we all know, because of the sheer size of this population, the sheer size of the economy, the sheer size of its influence on the rest of the world. Um, China also is one of the largest producers and consumers of animal products, and but also, China is not, the only uh, victimizers of animals. It's not the only nation that's bringing suffering to the animals. So I hope that people will have a balanced view of our work in China. On one hand, it's very, very important. On the other hand, China should never be singled out
Right.
for bringing sufferings to animals. And as a last word, I hope you will support our project Zodiac 12. We need a lot of support. If you know people who might be somehow supporting this film financially or with their expertise, if they have stories that are related to these animals, or if they have an amazing project that potentially can help me tell the story, or if they have amazing scientific research that give us a new understanding of how we relate to these animals, please visit our website. It's zodiac12.net. And there's English if you click on English. So zodiac12.net slash en, which is English. You will be able to contact me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll post it on the chat so
Okay, thank
everyone
you.
has it. It'll be on both YouTube and Facebook. So
Yeah, we can't wait. So please contact me as soon as you know you can support it. And we want to launch this project as soon as possible. And
that's
thank you, Dr. Rao, for giving me the space.
our pleasure. It's an honor to host you, and it's a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you. Same here.
Thank you.